And this piece right here that I just manufactured hopefully solves this problem.
Oh, no, that's not good. It's broken up. Oh, that's not good.
And that problem was caused by this piece right here. And this component was simply to attach the weapon system to the chassis, but after what Jeff did to me, well, that's no longer possible, and then therefore I redesigned it. Now the little trick I showed at the start with the blue painter's tape and the super glue, that's just a way of essentially creating your own double-sided tape for sticking templates down to things. Is a woodworking hack there, I guess we would call it that. And the obvious difference between these two parts is the original one is polycarbonate and the new one is UHMW, but there are several other design considerations. The main problem with the original piece was that it was polycarbonate and had several holes drilled into it. This resulted in thin material around the perimeter, and well, it caused the piece to shatter whenever a robot would hit it, or frankly, after enough hits from its own weapon system, that shock would cause it to shatter as well. With the new piece, some of the other important things were that one, it needs to be vertically symmetrical. Therefore, I have a little support on the top for the weapon as well as the bottom to improve driving performance when the robot is inverted. And also, I increased the size of some of the support parts to make them a little bit more resilient to weapon hits. And the entire piece itself is thicker as well to also give it a little bit more resilience to enemy weapons, because UHMW does degrade faster than polycarbonate, except when polycarbonate has a bunch of holes drilled into it. Now the most important question though is how much does the new piece weigh compared to the old one? Because increases in mass are going to affect some of the design changes that I have to make to the chassis to accept the new weapon support. So the original one came in at 6 grams each. The new one, on the other hand, comes in at 11 grams, which is quite a bit beefier. When it comes to changes in the chassis, there were a few tweaks that needed to be made. First, several of the mounting holes had to go ahead and be moved just a small amount to accommodate for the vertical symmetry I mentioned a little bit ago. As well as, of course, these pieces are about 2 millimeters thicker than the original polycarbonate ribs, so the whole weapon cage area had to be opened up just a little bit more. Now, I did run into one issue with these parts, but it's not anything new to people who are familiar with machining or doing any kind of precise construction with UHMW. This particular material is known for not holding tolerances very well. So if I drill a nice precise 1/4-inch hole for my weapon shaft, or similar precise holes that I then tap for my M3 mounting bolts, come back in 24 hours and well, those holes are probably going to be a little bit different size. In fact, they're probably going to be smaller. It's not a big thing to work with and big thing for me to deal with. If I had a proper machine shop, there are ways you can kind of reduce that effect, but I'm working primarily with woodworking tools and some of those options are not really available to me. So how I need to approach this is really come competition day, I just have to affect my workflow just a tiny bit, and I'll probably just be taking my M3 tap along with me, knowing that in between fights, if I got to replace these ribs, there's a good chance I'm going to have to drill out some of the holes again and then re-tap them. All right, with that note out of the way, let's take some of the guts from the old wreck chassis, move it over to the new one, and hopefully we can just, destroy a few things. Well, that's no good. I had one job, which was to accurately compensate for the thicker weapon supports, and I clearly didn't do that. While this is a little bit annoying, the fact that I didn't measure things right and the motor doesn't fit in there, it's not really the end of the world. These old T-motor drone motors that I've been using in this version of the robot, well, they don't really exist anywhere on the internet anymore, at least not except for sketchy sites that may or may not have them in stock. I couldn't tell. And therefore I can't really rely on them for future robots because I can't buy any more. So the easy solution is just swap over to my backup motor option, which is a little bit smaller anyway. So I had to fix one little oopsie I found, which is when I designed this armor piece. In the last video, I hadn't planned out the new weapon supports yet, and because they were larger, I had to cut off a little bit of the armor from each side. But with that, that's probably all the big changes I need to make right now. Let me finish up the assembly of the weapon here, and we'll start actually destroying a few things. Weapon is back together. As you can see there, performance is fairly similar to what it was with the polycarbonate supports. However, it appears to have less capability of self-destruction, and that's a good step forward when it comes to combat robotics. So let's go ahead, we can call this upgrade process done. I think the UHMW weapon supports was a step in the right direction. However, at the moment, Nylon Brigade is about 25 grams underweight, and that's a bit of a feature, not a bug. Further down the line, I'm planning to actually upgrade the weapon and make it more lethal. However, I don't have a formal set of things that I'm going to do to, solve that problem right at the moment. I'm mainly going to go through a few more steps of optimization, figure out how much weight I have available, and then go from there. However, competition is coming up, so I might as well do something with that extra 25 grams, and that something is going to be to add on a third weapon blade. So let's see how that goes. It works. The weapon belt is a little worn out. The battery's kind of dead, but the functionality is there, and that's what matters. So I think I'm going to run with this setup for the upcoming competition and make things better a little bit further on into the future. So thank you guys all for watching. I'm Jason, the creator of Team Rocket Robotics, and I'll see you next time.